But most of everything is placebo. What does that mean? That virtually everything is controlled by our thoughts. And we need to embrace that to make the changes that most of us desire.
The brain and body are connected bidirectionally through the nervous system, but other systems too. Like there's no single system, hormone system, nervous system, immune system
Right,
that
it's all
doesn't
one. Right.
that doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier and go back and forth.
Now people are talking about mind-body connection. It's not a connection. If you're talking about a connection between two things, it says they're separate, and you still have to deal with what's connecting them. When you put them back together, it's one thing. You don't have to deal with that mediator. And so the study you're asking me about, which I'm surprised, I'm having a junior moment that I actually remembered the question you asked rather than a senior moment, before I tell you about the study with Ali, the first study we did testing this mind-body unity was the counterclockwise study. So here what we did was we took elderly men, we were going to have them live in a retreat that had been retrofitted to 20 years earlier, and had them live there as if they were their younger selves. So they talked about things from the past as if they were just unfolding. The results were incredible. Their vision improved, their hearing improved, their memory, their strength, and they looked noticeably younger. So that was very exciting and began all this mind-body unity work. Now comes the study that you're talking about with Ali, where in a conversation that she and I had, she was my student, and she made proclamations about exercise, and any proclamation, this is the short answer to your question, anybody proclaims anything, my mind immediately goes to, well, when might not that be true?
I'm starting to pick up on that. Yeah.
So, it's a gimmick, I guess.
It's a gift is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question was that how important was the understanding of exercise to the effects of exercise. So we take chambermaids, and interestingly, the first question we ask is, how much exercise do you get? And they say they don't get very much exercise because to them, exercise is what you do after work, because that's what the Surgeon General who sits behind a desk all day says. So you would imagine whether they realize they were getting exercise or not, since they're getting so much exercise, that they're going to be healthier than other people who are not getting them. And they weren't. That's interesting. So now we divide them into two groups, very simple study, randomly divide them into two groups. And one group, we simply teach them their work as exercise. Making a bed is like working on this machine at the gym, doing the windows, whatever. So you have two groups, one who thinks their work is exercise, one who doesn't realize. We take many, many measures, and they're not eating any differently, one group from the other. They're not working any harder. Nevertheless, the group that changed their mind and now saw their work as exercise lost weight. There was a change in waist to hip ratio, body mass index, and their blood pressure came down.
Remarkable.
Yeah. And what I don't usually talk about when I start talking about this is that this was a test of the nocebo effect. Mm-hmm. Most people know what a placebo is. You take something that's nothing, and it has the effect as if it's something. Or you take a sugar pill thinking it's strong medication, and it plays out as if it was. A nocebo is the reverse. You're taking something. So here you're doing the exercise, but you don't realize it, and it gets rid of the effect. An early study on this was, I don't remember who did it, and it was a senior moment. People were given Ipecac, and Ipecac is supposed to make you vomit. So if you accidentally had poison or whatever, you take Ipecac and vomit. So people are given Ipecac, people who have a problem vomiting, and they're told the Ipecac will stop their vomiting. And it stops their vomiting. So many placebo studies where you take people, they're rubbed with a leaf that they think is poison ivy. So it is either is poison ivy or it's not poison ivy. You think it's poison ivy or you don't think it's poison ivy, and your body reacts to your thoughts. If you think it's not poison ivy, you don't get the rash. If you think it is poison ivy, you do.
Spectacular.
Yeah. And so, we've been studying this for forever. I think that placebos are probably our very strongest medicine. Although it's interesting that when people think that they were given a placebo, they get very upset. They should be excited because if the placebo didn't cure you, who cured you? You did it yourself. But placebos have gotten a bad rap. I think primarily because of the pharmaceutical companies, right? You want to bring a drug to market. The way you do that is you have to run an experiment where the drug outperforms the placebo. And when it doesn't, damn it, I can't make all those billions of dollars without saying, wow, this sugar pill is mighty, mighty strong.
I want to talk about three themes that you raised. The first one is this mind-body notion. And now, even as I say it, mind-body, I feel like a hint of guilt, because I completely agree that the division of mind and body is one of the greatest mistakes of thinking in psychology and Western medicine that ever existed. In fact, a lot of my secret mission in this podcast is to remind people every single episode, it seems, that the brain and body are connected bidirectionally through the nervous system, but other systems too. Like there's no single system, hormone system, nervous system, immune system,
Right,
that
it's all
doesn't
one. Right.
that doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier and go back and forth.
But it's all because of Descartes. Descartes was out to dinner, and the waitress asked him if he wanted a salad, and he said, "I think not," and he disappeared. I think I am. Therefore,
I was about to ask, how was it?
And after that, Andrew, I say, this is not my day job, so I don't have to be funny.
I love it. I love it. I've spent a lot of time trying to learn the history of medicine and the merge of philosophy and medicine. There's a wonderful book that if anyone is suffering from insomnia, they should check out, because it's extremely detailed and difficult to listen to or read, but it's called The Prince of Medicine, which basically details all the reasons why we are so confused about how medicine is done and should be done. And it has to do with rules and restrictions and cultural conventions. And it's a whole barbed wire mess, basically. But it includes this mess that was created for us, which is this idea that somehow, because the brain is perhaps the seat of our consciousness, to many people, they believe that. But certainly, like if I were to lose a few fingers on my left hand, I'm not sure I would fundamentally be a different person, but if I lost a few millimeters or the equivalent amount of real estate in my brain, my personality could very well change, perhaps for the better. Some would say, and I'm probably now hoping for that event. But all kidding aside, I think the mind-body distinction has really poisoned our thinking about what's possible. And the other experiments that you described, point to what's possible, and I want to talk about those. But maybe if we could just hover on this notion of mind and body as a single thing, that there's an us. I don't want to get too philosophical here, but that there's an us, and our body carries us forward in motor behavior.
Well,
but like, how should we conceptualize the self if we don't have a mind-body distinction?
I don't know why that's a problem.
Well, I think
I am who I am, period. How does that change whether we want to see me as having a mind, body, and elbows? So explain to me, and then I will explain to you.
Yeah, well, what I love is, I'm going to first reflect. What I love is the flexibility of your thinking around these things. Again, it's like maybe exercise, the effects of exercise are epiphenomena, or, so in thinking about mind body, I can't get my, no pun intended, my head around this distinction that if I lose a certain piece of my body, I'm not fundamentally changed. But if I lose a piece of neural real estate, I'm fundamentally different.
Well,
that's the only thing that anchors me to the idea that they're separate.
Why is that true? I mean, if, let's say you're an athlete and you lose two of your fingers, you're not going to be performing in the same way that you performed in the past, and surely you'd end up different.
Yeah, that's it. I'll buy that explanation. Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to probe this, because I think nowadays people think, if I breathe in a certain way, I'll change my state of mind, which is true. If I think differently, get stressed or relaxed, I'll change the way that I breathe. I mean, I think that we're starting to understand the bidirectionality of these things.
I think some of the, even the work with the brain, where to assess this neuroscience now is crazy with fMRIs. And we want, no matter what happens, you want to see what's going on in the brain. And I think that implicitly, in a backwards way, that leads people away from realizing that whatever you're looking for is probably manifested every place. You know, I had this experience. I like doing strange things, and I was out in Kansas City, and where the problem go back home, and I had a problem with my gallbladder.
Really?
Everything is everywhere. The problem is we don't have the technology to notice it. You know, so when you're happy, your skin is different from when you're not happy. But who can see such small distinctions? But it's there. All we do is look to see where the brain is different. It's all one. Anything, I believe, anything that's happening on any level is simultaneously, not sequentially, more or less happening on every level. So a teardrop of sadness biochemically is different from a teardrop of joy. And so it's all there. We just have to notice. But most of everything is placebo. What does that mean? That virtually everything is controlled by our thoughts. And we need to embrace that to make the changes that most of us desire. So in other words, so going to an acupuncturist itself means I want to find answers, and seeking you are more likely to find, and then you're in a position to improve.